From 100 feet to half, then half again, and when he was that close, Fezzik called out to her, his word, Keed! She heard and stared up, and when he had her eyes, Fezzik made her favorite silly face, the one where his tongue touched the tip of his nose, and she saw it, of course. And then, of course, she laughed out loud with joy, because now she knew what all this was, just another of their glorious games that always ended so happily. Hold on. No. I thought there was a cat at my door, but there is not. He's so bafflingly strong that he's swimming through the open air and it's working. Okay, that's what I was thinking it was, but I just wasn't sure if I was reading it correctly. From the start, they were different. Sometimes when she was very little and dozing and Fezzik was helping Buttercup, he would say, She has to tinkle, and Buttercup would answer, No, she doesn't, she's just... And then, so Buttercup survives, at least until this part. Sorry, I'm distracting myself with just comments. Normally I wait until there's like a little break in the paragraphs and then I will like stop and talk. But now it's like every little thought. I'm just like, oh, and then there's this part. Okay. From the start, they were different. Sometimes when she was very little and dozing and Fezzik was helping Buttercup, he would say, She has to tinkle. And Buttercup would answer, No, she doesn't. She's just... And then she would stop before she got to fine because Waverly had blinked awake, soaking wet, and Buttercup would look at Fezzik in those moments with such a look of wonder. Or sometimes Waverly and Buttercup would be playing happily, Fezzik watching, always there, watching so close. And Buttercup would say, Fezzik, why do you look so sad? And Fezzik would say, I hate it when she's sick, and that night a fever would come. He knew when she was hungry or tired, he knew why she was smiling, and when crankiness was just around the corner, which made him, in Buttercup's mind, the perfect babysitter, since how could you improve on a sitter who knew what was going to happen? So Fezzik looked after her constantly, and when she dozed, he would sit between Waverly and the sun, which was why, when she started to talk, she called him Shade, because he was that, her shade, in those earliest days. Later, when she learned games, she had but to blink in his direction, and he knew, not that she wanted to play, but which game. Wesley agreed with Buttercup that although, yes, theirs was an unusual nurse-child relationship, it was a blessing, since it provided her with time to heal and recover, and better yet, time for them to be together. So Fezzik and Waverly learned from each other and enjoyed each other. Occasional spats, of course, but that comes, as Buttercup explained to him one day, with mothering. Can Waverly come play in the whirlpool with me? Fezzik would ask constantly. Buttercup would hesitate. Gets her overtired, Fezzik. Hey, Jen. How are things? I was explaining at the beginning of the stream, I spent some time in the sun today, so I got myself dehydrated. So now I'm trying to rehydrate with a bunch of water-based products here. I've got regular still water, and then I've got sparkling water. Can Waverly come play in the whirlpool with me? Fezzik would ask constantly. Buttercup would hesitate. It gets her overtired, Fezzik. Please, please, please. Buttercup would give in, of course, and off they would go, stopping first for the clothespin, then into the water. Waverly sitting securely on his head, his hands gripping her feet, and whoosh. It was truly magical watching them, as Inigo and her parents often did. Because Fezzik, having conquered the whirlpool, had befriended it. He would kick up to speed, then swim into the whirl and let it carry them around, with Waverly shrieking and Fezzik keeping balance as they rode the water together, their favorite game, which always ended so happily. Sorry, I have Dread up as well. That's okay. I didn't know Dread was streaming tonight. If he's still on, maybe we'll raid in. But we gotta finish this first. Oh, since I'm stopped at a brief moment, playing a game right now. Okay. The whirlpool and the stars and the moon and the wind, I really loved that imagery, of basically personification of those elements, especially the whirlpool, because it feels like the whirlpool has the most of like a personality, and I think that's really cool that it's not just a whirlpool creature, it's like an actual whirlpool. And so I think that's I thought of that earlier, but I forgot to I lost the thought, and just kept going. But I really do like that part. Now I'm losing my voice. Okay, we're almost there. We can do it. Fezzik was close enough to reach out now, so he did. Brought the child into his arms, made another face, took her fears away. Shade, she said, so happy. 3,000 feet now. Next, he pulled her close to him. 2,000. He knew as the rocks flew up toward him that he could never save himself, but he could bundle her next to his body. If he could lie flat in the air and bring her into his arms so his mighty back took the initial assault, there was a good chance she would be shaken. Yes, shaken terribly, but she might live. He made his body flat against the wind. He pulled her to him with all his sweet strength. Heed, he whispered finally. If you ever need shade, think of me. One final silly face. One blessed responding laugh. Fezzik closed his eyes then, thinking only this. Thank God I was a giant after all. I got chills. Oh, I like Fezzik. Fezzik's just special like that, befriending concepts and locales. Yeah. Ah, Fezzik. Okay. Willie was quiet when I finished. He gathered up his baseball and his frisbee, hit the elevator button. Dinner time coming up, and I had to get him home. He didn't speak again till we were on the street. No way Fezzik dies. I don't care what the chapter's called. I nodded. We walked in silence. And you know how Fezzik could tell what was going on with Waverly? Well, I can do that with Willie, at least on my good days. And I knew this great question was coming. Grandpa, he said finally, do you think I love that? You remember how much money Wesley was going to get when he decided to leave Buttercup after she tormented him once too often about the boys in the village? That's how much. Speak into the microphone, I said, making my hand one. Okay. That thing that invaded Fezzik. Here's what I don't get. How did it know to invade him right then? I mean, if it came a day earlier, it would have just had to wait around inside him for 24 hours feeling stupid. I told him I doubted that question had ever been asked on planet Earth before. Jason and Peggy were waiting at the door. It was good, Dad, Willie said. It played around with time a lot. We really need another novelist in the family, Jason said, and I laughed and hugged everybody. Started back home. It was a gorgeous spring evening, so I let the park win me for a while. Just walked in silence, thinking. First thing that has to be said, Morgenstern hasn't lost a whole lot off his fastball. This is clearly a different piece of work from The Princess Bride, but he was a much older man when he wrote it. And since maybe this is the end of my involvement, a couple of closing thoughts. Like Willie, I don't believe Fezzik is going to die here. My money is on Morgenstern saving him. He saved him from Humperdinck's arrow with the Holocaust cloak. He'll come up with something. The unexplained Inigo fragment. What was that? Couldn't he have given us a couple of hints, at least, as to why? Will it all make sense later? Who was the madman on the mountain? Was he born without skin? How did he get Waverly? Was he the kidnapper or just a member of a gang? And if he was just a member, who was his boss? And who did invade Fezzik? A beautiful young couple passed me then. She was pregnant out to here, and I wished her a Waverly. And I realized something, and this is it. We've traveled a long way, you and I, from when Buttercup was only among the 20 most beautiful women on the earth, because of her potential, riding horse and taunting the farm boy, and Inigo and Fezzik were brought in to kill her. You've written letters, kept in touch. You'll never know how much I appreciate that. I was on the beach at Malibu once, years back, and I saw this young guy with his arm around his girl, and they were both wearing t-shirts that said, "Wesley never dies." Loved that. And you know what? I like these 4. Buttercup and Wesley, Fezzik and Inigo. They've all suffered, been punished. No silver spoons for this bunch. And I can just feel these terrible forces gathering against them. I just know it's going to get worse for them than it's ever been. Will they all even live? Death of the heart, the subtitle says. Whose death? And even more important, maybe, whose heart? Morgenstern has never given them an easy shot at happiness. This time, I sure hope he lets them get there. Florence City / New York City, April 16th, 1998. I have thoughts, but I need to gather them. So, thoughts. Does anybody have thoughts about this last little bit that we just read? Because I have so many, I don't know if I can organize them. Definitely had chills in a few parts. I guess I kind of like that he left it open-ended of like, well, Fezzik got out of dodged the arrow, so maybe he's going to dodge the rocks this time. As unlikely as it is, I feel like it's nice that he left us with that amount of hope. Because I think in other parts of the book, there was definitely a lack of hope happening, or like a cynicism about the world. And although he does say that the wrong people die, so I don't know. We'll take that with a grain of salt, maybe, but it's very sweet and hopeful. Yeah, I like. It's frustrating that he left it with like a whole bunch of questions, but also, it does feel like he knows that he's not going to write more. And so I like that he sort of, it feels complete, and it feels, even though there are questions, it still feels like a complete ending. It's a shame we'll probably never actually see the rest of the story. Well, here's what I was thinking, and I don't know if this is in any remote way a possibility, but he sets up this whole thing with that he's friends with Stephen King, and Stephen King tells him to write the first chapter, and then he'll write the rest of it. And as much as I hate to say it, that's the perfect way for Fezzik to go out. Yeah. I think with Fezzik's last thought, thank God I was a giant after all, I think that from a writing perspective, I feel like that would seal the deal for him. Like, that's the perfect character arc, like a complete character arc. Because he spends his whole life being like, you know, I'm just a big, dumb, hulking brute, and, you know, he kind of gets hard on himself a little bit, and not down on his luck, but down, like, low self-esteem. I think there was a mention of that earlier in one of the paragraphs. He was like, he has no self-esteem, and so for him to have this realization of like, I was made this way for this moment, I feel like from a writing perspective, that's the moment that it has to be the end for him. Um, but how funny would it be if William Goldman actually got Stephen King to write the rest of the book? I feel like there would be a lot of copyright issues, but I think it would just make the whole plot of the story, the storyteller inserting his own voice into the book, it would make that whole sort of plot feel more real and kind of weave the cocoon illusion a little bit tighter and like just make it that much more of an illusion of reality. It would be so neat if that actually happened. I'm gonna like think about how can we make this happen. Because I don't even know if they're actually friends with each other or if that's just what he wrote. If he just wrote this fantasy version of himself. Like they may have had a professional working relationship, because I think there was a lot of, I forget which ones, but there were some Stephen King novels that got adapted into film, and so they had that professional working relationship. But that doesn't mean they're friends. And I feel like if Stephen King was going to write the next version of The Princess Bride, or like the sequel or whatever, that's a thing that you really have to get a friend to do, someone that you really trust to like take over your project. But it would be cool because he's talked about so much in the introduction to the sequel, that I feel like he's so much a part of the story now. Whether any of that is true, I don't know. But there was another thought that I had. Oh, he was talking about Firestarter, The Stand, It, Dreamcatcher. I couldn't possibly remember. So all of those are a Goldman adaptation of Stephen King? Or are you saying just in general those are the ones that got Misery? Yeah, Misery was them. Just King movies I can remember. Okay. So we don't know if I'm sure I could Google it later, but Goldman might not have done all of them. But if he did, that's 1, 2, 3, 5-ish films potentially. I mean, at that point you almost have to be beyond a working relationship and to something like resembling a friendship. If you're going to keep doing jobs like that, obviously there's something there that the two of you can work with if that's happening. But yeah, he says something about Morgenstern. Maybe I missed it. Morgenstern hasn't lost a whole lot off his fastball. This is clearly a different piece of work from The Princess Bride, but he was a much older man when he wrote it. I feel like he's writing about himself in that paragraph, that he's like acknowledging, I'm not the same author I was when I first wrote this. And it almost feels like he's signing off, just being like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I feel like does that mean it's a good time for him to be like, hey, Stephen King, do you want to write more of this? But if, like, I don't know, again, I don't know what their relationship is like. Does Stephen King even know that his name appears in this book? He has to, I would think. Misery appears to be the only Goldman adaptation. Okay. But Goldman has done a bunch of other adaptations, right? I'm reading his biography now. William Goldman has been writing books and movies for more than 40 years. He has won 2 Academy Awards for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and All the President's Men, and 3 Lifetime Achievement Awards in screenwriting. His novel Marathon Man has made him very famous in dentists' office around the world. Yeah, okay. But those might not all be adaptations from a novel into a film. Those might be just standalone films. I don't know. I'll look into it more if I'm curious and if I remember later after stream. But I don't want to like derail everything. I really like how complicated of a story. It's like a story inside a story. Sort of like he's telling a story about how he adapted a book that was told to him. So it's a story inside of a bedtime story. And then later the bedtime story becomes his grandson's bedtime story. It's just so complicated in an exquisite kind of way. And I really like that. Yeah, no like criticisms. I'm just like, I was planning on finishing the book last week, but I sort of there was a lot that happened last week, so I ended up not getting to it, but also I didn't want to get to the end of it. I wanted to just keep like savoring it. So, yeah. Anybody else have other thoughts about the book or about writing in general? Also, Nephtereth, the lore keeper, do you want me to address you by any particular thing, like Neph or lore keeper or anything like that? I'm more of a vibes guy. Thoughts always end badly. Well, if you have vibes, you can talk about them. Neph is fine. I will try and remember that. Neph. I feel like I will probably be thinking about this a lot tomorrow, and I will have a lot more thoughts, like as it kind of like stirs around in my head. But how about thoughts regarding a new film adaptation? Sorry, I'm lurking, trying to figure out how to import my overlay stuff to Stream Elements OBS plugin. Overlay stuff to Stream Elements OBS plugin. Okay, so I'm not using Stream Elements. I'm just using straight up OBS, which is a learning curve, I think, from what I'm hearing. So I can't give you any advice. Ooh, I don't know if they can recapture the magic, honestly. So that's what I thought. And actually, one of my favorite memes was, because it might have been like right after the pandemic, maybe like 2021-ish, when people were starting to work in the film industry again, and they were like, what can we, what new things can we make? And they were talking, I don't know if it's going ahead, but there was some discussion about redoing Princess Bride. And I think it was Carrie Ellis posted, there's a shortage of perfect films in this world. It would be a pity to damage this one, which is his line from the film, adapted a little bit. The original will always be there. I doubt they can ruin it. Yeah. So that's a good point. It's like it's not like they're destroying the original. They're just giving new commentary. And yeah, what you said, they might not be able to recapture the magic, but hopefully that is in the skill of the filmmakers and not so much in like the fact that it's a perfect story. They can't ruin it by any means. I just don't think it's worth it if you can't do at least as good as the first one. Yeah. what's the point if you're not gonna like put everything into it and bring out something that's really worth watching. And I'll still go see it because I've loved the movie since I was a spud. Yeah, I think I first was introduced to The Princess Bride. I think I was at least in college. Can Shaq play Fezzik? Shaq or... I'm trying to think of like how many... Ellen, why? How many... Definitely, I don't think any of the people who are wrestlers turned actors that are currently working, I feel like they don't have a Fezzik vibe. Shaq, maybe. But okay, wait, maybe Batista. I've seen Steel and Kazam. We don't want this. Kazam, was that was like a superhero movie? I think I saw that, but I don't remember Shaq being in it. Genie. I might have blocked that movie out of my memory. Oh, Shazam. Yes, that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah. You won't get anyone the right size, though. No one can replace Andre. Yeah. Kazam is... Okay, yeah. I was thinking of Shazam. That's the one with like the superpowers and he like body swap or something weird happens. I didn't see Kazam. Size no longer matters. Yeah. Yeah. The tallest person on the cast plays the dwarf. Um, but they had a whole bunch of like perspective tricks that they were playing with on Lord of the Rings. Um, I think sometimes getting the vibe of size is more effective. Like because you can yes, you still need to see it visually. It still needs to look like they're bigger, but having that big personality, I think, can also help. Um, I had a thought. There was a person that I had in mind, but I can't think of who it is. Someone that I thought might also be able to play Fezzik. Chris Pratt playing every character, including the rat in the swamp. Every side character. What about Chris Pratt as the Pratt would be a wild choice for Fezzik. He's childlike enough. Yeah. I can see the childlike parts. I don't know if Pratt... I would be curious. I would love to be a fly on the wall for any of these people during an audition an audition scene. Um, in front of casting directors. I would love to just see what they can do with it. I think this is a movie that should never be remade. Yeah, I don't think it has to be, but I definitely think that there are angles that they took that like there are perspectives in the book that I think didn't make it to screen, and it would be cool to see them visualized. Whether that's going to actually make a good film or not, I don't know. but I kind of would love to see somebody take that and make it into a visual story. Just like they should have never remade The Crow. Is The Crow that one that was like so bad that it was good? Is that the... I might be thinking of a different one. Who was in The Crow? Brandon Lee. That one's not ringing a bell then. I don't... Not that I even know who was in any of... Like, some of the older stuff that was remade, I wouldn't know who the actors were, but I might recognize them by their faces. What if Goldman wrote Buttercup's Baby and they just made that? Everybody on the OG cast is alive except Andre. I mean, that would work with where Buttercup's Baby gets left off. The remake is getting horrible reviews. Is this a current something that's currently in theaters? The Crow? Oh, wait, I know which movie you're talking about now. It just hit me. Brandon Lee died during the making of it. He was Bruce Lee's son. Yeah, it slowly sank in, but it got there. Yeah, the remake is in theaters right now. Okay. Um, and the remake, do they have anybody like from the original involved, or did they just say like, this is a good movie, let's try and do it? Goldman is very unlikely to write the script. He's a few feet under at the moment. Did he pass? Held a message. We can allow that. You're right, I forgot. Okay, so did Goldman pass is my question. And I'm remembering back to when I was looking at his Wikipedia page. I think I did see that he is no longer with us. So in that case, I wonder what the feasibility is of Stephen King writing Buttercup's Baby all the way to the end. My name is Meg. You can call me Meg or Creative Garden or Creative, whatever you want to do. That is fine. And I am happy that you were able to be here with me to see the end of this wonderful book. And I'm very grateful to whoever it was. I think it was Sarah in the stream who recommended it to me. It was a very good recommendation, so thank you. Hi there. Thanks for joining our book club. If you'd like to join the conversation, I would love it if you would leave us a comment. And if you'd like to see more, check out the playlist.